mai più. Mi dipingevo le mani e lo faccio di blu.
A Conversation with John Conenna is sponsored in part by Venus Travel Incorporated in Chicago, the agency that has served the Chicagoland area for over 55 years, which is still owned and operated since 1968 by the Conenna family. Again, Venus Travel, the premier agency for over 55 years, is a proud sponsor of A Conversation with John Conenna. And now, on to our episode. Good morning and welcome to another edition of A Conversation with John Conenna. Today, I am totally thrilled to have on Vanessa Racci, a jazz cabaret singer of American-Italian descent with a passion for retro jazz music made famous by Italian Americans. She has produced a few albums that we're going to get into today, and it shows that celebrate American jazz composers, Italian American music, and their contributions to jazz and pop. Vanessa, I've been watching you here for a while, did the research on you, and couldn't wait for you to come on. What is going on with you, young lady? And I have to tell you, this is maybe going to be a first. You are the bride of Thornwood, New York.
That's right, I am, yes.
How's it going, honey? What's going on?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be asked and that you did so much research. Thank you. I'm doing great. I'm performing like crazy, like 50 performances this year. So that's why I have my tea this morning. I got to keep the vocals fresh.
That is totally amazing. Yes.
Thank you.
I have to ask you, it starts pretty young with you, right? This career.
Yes, yes. I started singing for fun at family parties at the age of 4. And that's when my parents realized I had a talent and they started to audition me. And I started performing professionally at 12 years old.
But it kind of starts at basically where I read we're 4 years old. You had the passion to start doing this, right?
Yeah, my first song was The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can imagine that being what a thing to look up to. Sure, of course, an artist with, but there was something that came up, and I'm going to pronounce it, I think, correctly because we do have something in common, which we spoke on before the camera went on. We are of Barese descent from Puglia, and your grandfather, I'm going to pronounce it correctly here, Frank Prishnatelli.
Prishantelli, see, almost.
yeah. So he was a lover of these songs, correct? He would sing.
Absolutely. Like many Italian American families across the country, I grew up in the same house as my grandfather. Like he lived in the basement apartment. So we were very close. Unlike, most people my age, I'm a millennial, and a lot of people I went to school with just didn't grow up living with their grandparents.
Right.
But that was a really special bond for me. And because I not only learned so much about our immigration story and the struggles of Italian Americans in the early 1900s, but it also exposed me to the classics of Italian American music and also jazz classics, because he would play, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Louis Prima, Lou Monte, Connie Francis, etc. throughout the house.
Right. I mean, and when you kind of now go back to listen to how he sang, was he did you say, wow, my gramps, my no, he's good.
I mean, he wasn't a singer. He just,
yeah.
he was an appreciator of music, but he didn't really have a voice.
Right, exactly. But it gave you this early on passion, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. And so I grew up, singing Italian songs as a little girl, singing Connie Francis songs. I remember they would have me sing like Al di là at family communions and parties and stuff. And I didn't really appreciate it until I was in my 20s and I learned, oh, wow, this is special to know all these Italian classics. And also, I didn't realize like the music he was playing from Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin was jazz. And I loved it so much. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I should be a jazz singer. And that's kind of how it developed.
When I think of New York, and you think of old movies and things like that, really the jazz is New York, really,
It
like
is.
we're gonna fight about, is the pizza better in Chicago, here in Chicago, or is the pizza better in New York? But really, when I think of jazz, the jazz is New York, the nightclub scene, going out with the significant other to a club,
Yeah,
that's what it is. So
absolutely. Yeah.
it just gets you going. And it did, I mean, was it always jazz?
For me, well,
Yes.
I started like when I was younger singing like a lot of Alicia Keys because I love R&B and I love pop, but I didn't feel like it was me for some reason. Like I just felt this, I guess, retro connection to the years gone by, and I guess it's because I grew up living with my grandfather, and I just have this affinity for older music, older fashion, older movies,
Yeah,
So,
no, but here's the thing. I mean, you had this like that. I mean, I'm gonna get a little ahead, but then I got to go back because of how you've answered this. Um, you put such a spin to it on the
thank you.
songs, especially from the two albums, that it really wants to make you could sit there and enjoy it, but then what I hear you sing, I want to get up and move, you know.
Good. That's what I
Yeah,
like to
and
hear.
that's
Yeah.
the thing about the spin that you've like the one album title cover says Italiana Fresca, fresh. It's something new, Yeah, that you're saying. Um,
Absolutely.
were you? Does it kind of start in high school? Because I know you were part of I think it was called the Metro something where you were noticed.
Oh, the Metropolitan Room? Yes.
Yeah.
There was some sort of singing contest, and I sang and got lots of wonderful New York City, theater write-ups, which coming out of that, which was awesome. But yeah, I think my first love was theater. When I was 12 years old, I did local professional off-Broadway theater, and then I started just performing in plays wherever I could, getting leads, and I won the Helen Hayes Award at the age of 18 for my performance as Christine in Phantom of the opera. Um, and then I was like, well, what can I do that's that's more my own, Like I know I'm singing cover songs, like as jazz singers, we sing the songs of yesteryear, but it's also our responsibility to reinvent them with new arrangements and put our own mark on them so that they're still relevant to today's generation. And so that's something that I really loved because you can't really do that in theater, right? You have to
Right.
sing the songs as written in the script or the score. So that's when I started venturing out into jazz. I formed a jazz trio, learned a repertoire of like hundreds of jazz songs. And it wasn't until over 4 years that I decided, like, what do I want to do that's unique to me? And I'm like, well, I'm Italian American and I love jazz. I'm very passionate about my heritage, very passionate about jazz. Why don't I combine the two and reinvent Italian American classics with jazz arrangements? And so that's what I did.
Right. And when I listen to you, you don't sound the same in the sense of, oh, the voice is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but every song is a different thing, if it's Al di
Thank you.
là, Il Sole Mio, just love the way you put the spin and the twist on it. Do you remember that first time where are your parents approached and they say, hey, you know, we are really taking an interest in this little Vanessa Racci today. I mean, do you remember when now this starts, I'll use the word culminate.
When my parents noticed my
Yeah.
talent, you mean? So I think it was when I was at 4 years old because they thought it was
Wow.
strange that a toddler would just break out into singing "The Greatest Love of All,"
Yeah,
and
exactly. Okay.
and they were like, "Oh, she's kind of got some talent here." Like it was on pitch, it was strong, and then they would just have me sing at family parties, and I loved it. I was just like a natural ham. I was just like, "Okay," and I just get up and like. So that's when they were like, all right, we're gonna put her into theater, and they got me lessons and they started putting me into musical theater.
Did you have a lot of coaches over the years growing up?
Absolutely. Oh yes. Because it's great to have raw talent, but you have to know like how to focus it and tailor it to not only have longevity, but to make it better, right? And finesse.
Sure, sure.
You know, like
So, I mean, and of course, these coaches, of course, established, well-groomed people that really brought you to this other level now, correct? I mean, they kind of
absolutely.
refined you a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I started when I was little with like Nellie O'Brien and Mac Norton. And
Wow.
then as I got older, I worked with Jackie Presti, who's like a very renowned Broadway vocal coach, and Alexis Cole, who's also a jazz vocal coach.
Wow. Well, I
So,
got to tell you, I know Grandpa was just the singer, in the living room or whatever in the basement, but you, I think Grandpa's cousin was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Tony Mottola.
that's right. That's right.
And part of
And
he was part of the where when Carson had the orchestra, correct? I think it's the Johnny Carson show.
yep, absolutely. Yes. And he also toured with Frank Sinatra. Um, the only tragedy is that I never met him because
Mhm.
it was like a part of the family that he didn't see very often. They were because they
Right,
were lived further away.
right.
And I didn't learn that he was Tony Mottola until after he passed away because my grandfather, he was a very
Wow.
modest man. He was a carpenter, fought in World War II, you know, worked with his hands, a laborer, and
Yeah.
he didn't understand the entertainment scene. So he would always say, "My cousin's a guitarist." And we're like, "That's great, Grandpa." He never said it was Tony Mottola.
Tony Mottola, right? I mean, which was it's a big thing. Yeah.
I was like, "What?" And then I didn't learn it until he died. And my grandfather died, and we were going through his old things. And we found this old record, Mr. Big. It was Tony Mottola's first record. And it said, "To Cousin Frank, love Tony." I was like, "That's the cousin he said was a guitarist? Why didn't he tell me sooner?"
But then again, right there, Vanessa, you kind of reached out in your own way to find out more about Tony Mottola, correct? I mean, in reading up
Yes,
on you wanted to know what,
absolutely.
because I mean, not bad coming out of that gene pool. When I looked at that, I was like, hey, wait a minute,
I know. I just wish I had met him because I mean, I would have loved to sing with him, and he probably would have gotten a kick out of like a young
Oh,
girl wanting to sing
sure.
that old music, you know, but
But I read something which again goes back to Grandpa. Around was it around like the mid 2000s, 2015, 2016, where uh kind of the switch goes on, where you, like you said, like you wanted to be more innovative, you wanted to make
yeah.
this change, which is fantastic because like I said, you make these songs from that era. Now, wow, this is the, I always say now when I'm listening to you or even someone else in your field, this is the way I want to hear it. Do you get that type of a compliment
Thank you.
because of this
Yes.
innovation?
Yes, yes, I do. People love the way that I've reinvented the songs. However, there are a pool of people that just want to hear them exactly as they were written. But then if I sing them that way, I don't consider myself an artist, right? Because I'm not adding anything new, or adding a fresh perspective. So, but there's always that, pool of traditionalists that want to hear the song exactly the way it was recorded,
Right,
you
right,
know?
right. I mean, like sometimes
Yeah.
I know, and I know you're a professional, but you're doing it. You're like, oh God, do you ever say to yourself in the mind, I want to do it my way?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. But they love my rendition of Volare. They really think that's
Oh,
nice and fresh. C'è la luna mezzo mare,
yes.
Moon River, so I do have lots of popularity with many songs on my albums.
Wow, fantastic. And again, we're both from that Barres descent, of, growing up, like you said, with those kind of songs, those just fantastic memories. When does this schedule kick in that now we know that you've become Vanessa Racci, in the sense of what is your schedule? Meaning, where do you go to sing? I mean, you're doing,
Sure.
yeah, break that down for us because it's a tremendous
Yeah.
career, tremendous.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and I'm glad to say that I kind of built it on my own. I mean, with Grandpa's influence. But I don't have any connections in the music industry. I didn't have any help. I just did it all through like going into jazz clubs, networking with people, getting to know people, introducing myself, singing, going on open mics, kind of like grassroots, I guess, if you will. Um, and I put together my own touring schedule. Like I recorded the album, I showcased it at Birdland Jazz Club in New York City. So I approached the owner, who's Italian American, Johnny Valenti, and I said, my name is. He met me because I did a master class with jazz singer Jane Monheit, who's my idol,
Oh,
and
wow.
he heard my voice and he said, "Oh my gosh, you're amazing. You should perform here." And I said, I want to, but I don't have, an album. I don't have music yet. That's my own where I can perform at Birdland. So he said, "All right, think go away, think of some ideas and come back." So I did. And I said, "You know what, Johnny? I really think I want to combine my Italian American heritage with jazz and reinvent the classics." And he loved that, being an Italian American himself. And he's like, "No one else is doing that. That's very unique." So I recorded the album. He introduced me to some producers and musicians so I could make it happen because I didn't know, I had no connections in this in the scene.
Right.
And I recorded it with David Fink, who's a renowned bassist and producer in New York City. Yaron Gershovsky, who actually arranges for Manhattan Transfer, the jazz group. And they put my arrangements together and I did showcased the show at Birdland and launched my album on through CD Baby myself.
Oh,
And
wow.
then people started finding me on social media and I started booking like 10 shows, then 20, then 40, and now I'm up to 50. So,
Right.
and it,
Where,
yeah,
and I want to tell our audience, I mean, as you made it so comfortable for me to find you in the sense of, but it was hard to set up an interview because your schedule, you're pounding the pavement here. You are pounding the pavement.
yeah,
I got to ask you,
yeah,
it's two
sure.
questions coming up. The first one is this: how easy or how hard was it for you to put a spin on these old classics? I mean, how did you
Yeah.
get this, like, to make Volare sound like it's, I'm going to use an outdated word, to make Volare sound like it was an old disco song? You want to move.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
How hard was it?
So my process is like it just comes to me, and if it doesn't come to me, I don't record the song.
Got
Like I
it.
have to have like a vision. So my process is read I print out the words like Sinatra used to do and I read them like I'm reciting them, like penso che un sogno così non ritorni mai più. And I really understand what that means. Like I have a dream and I think I will never have it again. And I speak it as though I'm having a conversation with someone. And then I think about what it emotes for me. Like, what emotions does it bring up for me? How does the song make me feel? What does
Right.
it mean to me? And then I think about what I want to do with it. So for Volare, for example, I was like, oh, this song reminds me of like not being afraid of death, right? That's what
Yes.
it means to me, right? Because you're floating in the sky looking down at the world below you, you're free and
Right.
thinking about how beautiful it was the life that you lived and you're not
And
afraid. And so I wanted this feeling of just soaring and being so happy. And so that's when I decided I was going to make it like really upbeat, that I wanted to dance to
that
it.
jazzy
Yeah.
Italian. Well, yeah, right, exactly. I mean, do you remember? Let's stick with just Volare or a song.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
remember that first song where you put the spin on it and you perform it, and or before you were in studio, were you scared, or did this sound good to them because it sounds good to me?
Yes, I was. I was like, is anybody going to like this or is it just me in my own head? But the producers validated it because they've been in the music industry for a long time. And so I was saying it, they were like my first filter. And I was like, what do you think? And they're like, I like it. And then we just went from there.
Wow,
I was like,
incredible.
okay.
I got to ask you something that I'm trying to dig on you. Uh, have you performed in other states besides New York?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes. All over the country. So, California, Seattle. So I was in San Jose. I'm booking Los Angeles this year. Seattle, New Orleans, Chicago.
Okay.
Um, yes, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. All the Italian pockets of the United States.
And Vanessa, I want to ask you something. If you didn't say Chicago, I was shutting off the camera. But anyway, no.
So I was supposed to
No.
do the Taylor Street Festival this
Oh my
year.
God. Okay,
I was
so
with Ron Onesti, but
yes,
he
Ron.
lost a sponsor and they couldn't afford to fly me out. But he said that this 2024 will be the year that I'm going to do Taylor Street.
And I want you to know, I am very close with Ron.
Oh, great. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
very close with Ron, so we'll talk more off camera about that. But of course, he has a theater here, two theaters, the Arcata
Yep.
and the Des Plaines Theater. And yes, he's a big promoter here in Illinois. And when I first saw you as the outsider looking, I was like, wow, has Onesti approached Vanessa Racci? Because I have to be
Yeah.
honest, we have some great singers here in town. We have Diva Mantel, we have Daniela Crocco, but your style would be more than you have never been to sing in
Oh,
Chicago
yeah.
as yet, right?
Well, I was hired by oh my God, I'm forgetting his last name. Vince. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
The
sorry, I have to look.
Voice.
Yes, what's his last name? Sorry.
Oh no, that's
What is
Sal
his
The
last?
Voice.
Sal the Voice. Vince, he lives in Rockford.
Yes, yes, yes.
Why am I forgetting his last name? Hold on. Vince Carelli.
Get out of here. Yes, yes, yes. Okay,
Yes, yeah.
yes, yes.
So he hired me to sing at the Rockford Festival 2 years. So I was in the Chicago area, and then I actually hired a Chicago jazz singer, Paul Marinaro, to perform on my first album.
Oh wow.
So so I
I
am
mean, you
connected a
have
little bit
met
in the.
some really big names, and to do this on, I mean, you basically started this from, am I correct in saying you've started this from scratch?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
To be this, to bring these old songs into an innovation theme. No, yeah, because like I says, boy, this would be more than welcome. I never had seen you or seen the billing at
Yeah,
Arcana, but this would be fantastic because, matter of fact,
I would love that.
he's coming up
Yeah, I would
on an
absolutely
interview
love
with
that.
me in December that I will send to you. What?
Yeah, because I was planning to perform at the Taylor Street Festival and then line up a performance at Winters. So that's like my plan for this coming year, hopefully.
Okay, well, that's something. That's something. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to help you work on for sure. For
Thank
sure.
you, thank
Yeah.
you.
I got to ask you. The first one, the first album is. Correct me again if I'm wrong. Is Italiana Fresca, right?
See, yep,
Where we have O Sole Mio, Buonasera, Return to Me, all those songs. Great. And
yes.
then, when does Italiana Fresca come out? Do you
It
remember
came
the year?
out in 2017.
Wow, wow. I mean, I've always Vanessa wanted to write a book. I've
Uh-huh.
always wanted to write a book. What makes you, again, this is so motivating. What makes, hear this, I'm going to use the word little Vanessa Racci now come out with an album. What made you do it? I mean, like, wow.
Thank you. So, I mean, I've always been a singer my whole life. And my parents are very traditional, right? So they pushed me to go to school for business. And I worked in corporate America for a long time, and I just felt like I wasn't living my true self. Like
Yeah.
I was successful, I made great money, and that's what my parents are worried about, right? They want to make sure that I don't rely on a man, that I can support myself, that I'm successful and I'm comfortable in life, which I appreciate. So they didn't want to push me towards the singing route because they didn't want me to be a struggling artist.
Sure.
But I learned so much about marketing and business, and you know, being a performer is a small business, right?
Yes.
And so I decided, like, hey, if I can do well promoting and marketing soda for PepsiCo, I can do this for myself. And so I quit. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just pour all my talents in marketing into myself and see how I do.
And this was that
And
fire that's burning inside of you.
mhm.
It's just like for me, I took over my father's business, but there's always that thing that this is what I wanted to do professionally.
Yes,
I went to
yes, yes,
school for this, but
yep.
you had, at the time, it was a matter of where I had to help the family business. So Fresca comes out, Italiana Fresca, great album. And then, of
Thank
course,
you.
the songs on Jazzy Italian. And I got to tell you, I love both covers, meaning,
Thank you.
you got the sunglasses where you're like, I'm it. And then you got the Jazzy Italian where what it portrays to me, the cover when you're in that black dress. I'm confident and I got this. And
Oh, thank you.
it just really, portrays that. But again, even on that one, there's a song where you stop. I can't remember the title where you go, who does she think she is? I
Coquettes, coquette. Yeah.
love that song. I love it, So
It's so funny. You have to tell my vocal coach that. She hated it. She was like, I don't like that rap thing. I was like, I like it. I'm gonna keep it.
yeah, and again, that's where I had said earlier in the interview, Vanessa, that here you could sing Volare, and then you sing that, and it's like, wow, man, Vanessa's two different people here. No, just fantastic.
Yeah.
How have they done? Well, I mean, I got to just read you some figures here that are kind of they were kind of out there that I had to tell you on the Jazzy Italian. You through the model, you're number 8 on the RMR Jazz chart and and you can hear this still on the Seriously Sinatra.
Yes. They played Make Love to Me for like months, and now I think they've switched to September in the Rain, but they're playing my album, which is great. Yeah.
And you can find this like on Sirius radio, right?
Yeah. Just play Seriously Sinatra. You'll find me. Like if you listen for the day, I'll pop up once a day.
Yeah, which is
So,
cool. Oh my God. I mean,
uh-huh.
I got you I got you in my Spotify thing. I just want you to know,
Thank
I'm
you.
not trying to
Yes.
brown nose you, but you're on my Spotify every day.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And then let's go back to the first album, Italiana Fresa, which you invent the modern jazz. You're number 65 on the jazz charts. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. The number is huge. So 65 is like unbelievable to be on the jazz charts.
Yeah, for the first album my first album, I didn't have an agent and I didn't have a label. So I was really, nobody knew who I was. So that was like I think a great achievement for no one knowing who I was. And so now that more people know who I am and I have an agent and a manager, I worked my way up to number 8 on the jazz chart, which is great.
I got to ask you, so in doing this, of course, you did this on your own. You kind of reinvent yourself. You reinvent the music also. But I mean, did things fall into place quickly for you because of your talent, or was there that struggle?
Well, I mean, obviously the pandemic happened, so that
Oh
sucked.
yeah, yeah, great.
So I had so much momentum in 2019 because I launched the album in 2017. My tour schedule was packed in 2019, and then 2020, nothing.
Right. Yeah, nothing.
Niente.
Niente, niente,
And
yeah.
and I was like, "Oh my God." And I was recording my second album, and I was like, I can't launch it now because no one's going to book it
Right.
anywhere. So I had to wait to 2022 to launch my second album because I was like, I can't launch it in the middle of the pandemic.
I mean, for
So,
anybody and that in any industry, this affected all of us. And I know, I mean, a lot of the entertainers that I talked to here, my dad had a
yeah.
great ballet saying if he would have been alive to have seen that, Vanessa, he would have said, "Ama fatto la frittata." We made the frittata now. Now
Yeah.
we're all dead. Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, I know your time is valuable here today. I know we touched on the surface. I wanted to play a little thing with you because I want people to
Yeah.
find out the
Sure.
lighter side of this great singer. But we are visiting today with Vanessa Racci. I'm going to call her not only the jazzy Italian, but the jazz singer extraordinaire. And you people, please listen to her album Italiana Fresa, Jazzy Italian. You could find her anywhere. I don't want people to say, well, I looked her up. This comes up so easy. The YouTubes on you are tremendous, let alone Spotify or Sirius Radio.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, we're going to play a 5-question game. You can answer them, or you can tell me,
Ooh.
John, I'm not coming to Chicago.
Okay.
And then I'm going to read something about what somebody said about you, which really after this 40-minute interview is really who you are. Okay,
Sure.
the first question.
Yes.
That early mentor besides Grandpa Frank, that early mentor, another person that, or even one or two people, I know we can't, no one get offended here, that you said, wow, and you already mentioned Whitney Houston. Who was somebody else where you says, I could do this, I could be like her or him?
Ooh, Celine Dion.
Oh, okay. Great company, my dear. Great company.
I loved all the divas.
The divas. Yes, the great company. Okay. Second question for my Vanessa today. A movie that you could watch over 200 times and not get
Oh,
bored.
I know this is so stereotypical for an Italian American, but Goodfellas. I love that
Oh,
movie so much.
oh my God. Hey, you know what? Now that's the first coming from a lady, because I get some really
Oh, really?
corny ones coming from the ladies I interview, but there's a scene in that movie that is the best. It's when Ray Liotta walks Lorraine
Through
Bracco
the
in the
kitchen,
back of that great
the
place, that
Copacabana.
the
Yeah.
Copacabana, where the great Henny Youngman was playing at, the
Yep.
comedian, when he walks her through and is tipping those guys at $25 for every time he passes by them. That's a great movie. A great movie.
I just did a show where we recreated that scene with
Oh,
this wonderful comedian and interviewer Paul Costabile from Los Angeles. But anyway, we're going to take that show on the road. But it's called Paulie's Dinner, and it's like a throwback Italian variety show.
oh.
But anyway, we just recreated that scene, and I sang "Then He Kissed Me."
And then he
For,
kissed me. Na, na,
yeah,
na. Yeah, great
yeah,
song. Oh my God, what a scene,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
third question, Vanessa.
Yes.
Uh, since I'm doing the interview today, but a person you would like to interview in your lifetime, sit down, have a dinner
Ooh,
with, man or woman. It can't be me. I want you to, don't get upset.
yes.
It can't be.
Lady Gaga.
Okay.
My fellow paisan. I love her so much.
Great. I thought you were going to say Taylor Swift. I've had it up to here with Taylor.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
not
don't
a
worry.
Taylor
Don't
Swift
worry.
fan.
We
She's
didn't
very
say anything.
talented, but I'm just not into it.
Yeah, yeah, okay, so Lady Gaga over John Conenna. I'll remember that.
Yeah.
All right, and
Sorry,
then
mi dispiace.
fourth question.
Yes.
What was that favorite Italian dish that you could eat that your mom made that you miss now?
Oh,
Or
well, she still
oh,
makes it for me. Um, I don't have just one, but well, my favorite is spaghetti alla puttanesca because
la
it's
puttanesca.
calabrese.
Yeah, is the
One of my favorite.
puttanesca with the Kalamata olives?
Yeah.
Yes,
And I think
that's a good
sardines,
one,
right?
my dear.
I think there's sardines in it too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. La puttanesca.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a breadcrumb thing. I can almost say la puttanesca could be almost like a barese thing.
Yes, it's definitely Southern Italian. I thought it was Calabrese. I don't, is
Yeah.
it? I have to
We're
really
gonna
look it
get in
up. I'll go
trouble,
with
me
it.
and you here about the
I
regions, but
know. I know. But my grandfather always used to make it. So maybe it was barese because my grandpa
yeah.
made it.
But
And
yeah,
he
la
used to tell me
puttanesca.
it was the dish of the whore, right? The putana.
La puttanesca. I love it. Oh my God, Vanessa. Okay. I gotta ask you this, because this is I swear to you, I could have stayed on with you here today for 2 hours if we both had two
Oh, you're
hours.
so
This is great.
sweet.
We're
I
gonna,
love it. Me too. Me too.
what's in store for the future in the mind of this innovative, young, aggressive young
Ooh,
lady in a good
ooh.
way, Vanessa Racci?
I love this question. It's so funny you say that because at the end of every year, I always do like a planning session for myself and my business. And I have so many ideas and I'm just not sure which one to pick.
Oh,
But I'm definitely going to move forward with a Harry Warren tribute because when I did my jazzy Italian album, which pays homage to Italian Americans in jazz,
okay.
I learned how much Harry Warren contributed to our great book of standards. And he was born Salvatore Antonio Guarania from Brooklyn. And he wrote At Last by Etta James. He
Oh,
wrote um, September in the Rain, Chattanooga Choo Choo, I Only Have Eyes for You. And a
oh,
lot of people don't know, like, all these major classic songs in the American Songbook were written by an Italian American. So I'm going to do a tribute to him. Um, I have I have a lot of ideas that I don't want to mention yet that are
okay.
proprietary.
You know,
But
we'll do that
yeah,
because you'll
yeah,
got to promise me a part two.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do a part two.
Absolutely.
But
And what I
that
do
is
want to
fantastic.
mention really fast that I am showcasing in APAP, which is I always see Ron Onesti there every year. It's an industry showcase. Forbidden Love, which is the love story of Bobby Darin and Connie Francis. I've
Oh
teamed up
wow.
with a friend of mine to tell their love story through song, and it's a really cool like mini Broadway style show. So I can't wait
Oh, neat.
to
That's neat.
showcase
Okay,
that.
so we know that there's a lot of things coming up, and
A
for
lot
the
of things.
people that are going to get this in the next 48 hours, this will be out on, by the way, YouTube and
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Spotify. This interview, they're going to really, I really see what kind of a person you are, and I got to read you something that
Yes.
really confirms who you are, and I'll tell you who the person who said this.
Okay.
Confident and fearless, she goes where the story and the music take her, and her exceptional and supportive sidemen are there with her every step of the way. This comes from Lynn DiMenna about
Yes.
Our Lady Vanessa Racci, the
Oh,
jazzy
Lynn, I
Italian.
remember her.
Young lady,
Yes.
you keep doing what you're doing because you
Thank
got this
you.
64 Italian
Oh, and
moving again.
can I mention one thing that I
Yeah,
don't
go
want to
ahead,
forget
Vanessa.
because they'll kill me. I don't want to forget to mention my friends from Hardcore Italians who are based in Chicago, and I'm one of their representatives, so
Okay, great.
or
And they
enforcers.
also know me
Yeah.
too, so that's good. If you
Yes,
want to mention
yes.
Ronnie and those guys,
They
yes,
have amazing merchandise. I love it so much, and I buy it for my
fantastic.
family. So.
All right, so you got to make me two promises.
Yes.
Well, no, you got to make me three. But the third one, I think you might tell me again. I'm leaving. But the first one is this: that you're coming to Chicago.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it. We're gonna make it happen.
Third one is this, and then the second one, you got to promise me a part two because this was fantastic. We just scratched the surface on a great singer. And number three, maybe 20 years down the road, you'll write a song about this interview.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, that'd be great.
Vanessa, truly thank you. I want to thank Joy too, Joy Marino, who put
Yes,
this all
thank you.
together.
She helped.
Fantastic lady. And I appreciate your patience with this, but we're going to get this out to our audience. And great job, young lady. You are fantastic.
Thank you so much, John. This was wonderful. Thank you for having me.
You got it. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Penso che un sogno così non ritorni mai più.